and a really, really warm welcome to this Peace During a Pandemic call with myself and Nadine, if you want to wave, Nadine. So some housekeeping first for those of you who aren't familiar with Zoom. I personally really like the gallery view so that you can see everybody, but if you would prefer to see just the person who's speaking, then you can choose the speaker view. Your lines are muted when you come on. So I think Ren and Annie, if you could pop your lines back on mute. When you speak, obviously, you can bring your line off mute, but at all other times, if you could keep it on mute, that would be really handy so that we can hear whoever's speaking really clearly. You do not have to use your video or audio at any point, but it's lovely to see you and it's lovely to hear you as well. So it's great if you want to. The chat function is there if you want to send a message to us, either to everybody or to either Nadine or myself privately. You can do that in the chat function. And at some point we might ask you to kind of wave a hand, and you can just literally do that by waving a hand. If you don't have your video on, then there is a function to raise your hand electronically, or you can type into the chat that you would like to speak. Is there any other logistics, Nadine?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah. So we'll go for an hour and a half. We'll be together for an hour and a half. And the reason, we'll introduce ourselves and the reason that we are hosting this again today. So I'm Corrina. I'm in Cambridge, England. I am currently 34 weeks pregnant. I'm just going to do the proof of that. And it's a very interesting time, obviously, to be pregnant. And we just heard literally a few hours ago from our local hospital that so my wife, the other mum of my son, will only be able to be there for the birth itself and not for any time afterwards in the hospital. So that was quite a interesting one to have just before this call. So I'm bringing interesting thoughts around that and kind of medical care during this time. And Nadine and I both are facilitators of the work, and we are used to, whenever situations are arising, just looking at what are our thoughts about the situation, and questioning those thoughts, questioning the stressful thoughts, and seeing what might lie beyond that. So that's me, Nadine.
Yeah, and hi everybody, I'm Nadine. I'm in Dublin in Ireland. And this, as Corrina said, this is the third time that we're just offering this gathering, and it's, it came from the two of us doing our work together, and then just having been with different groups last week, it just feels like a good time to be a little bit more systematic in looking at what are the thoughts that are kind of underneath, because I think there's, for many people and for myself, I noticed that I'm kind of, there can be kind of low-lying anxiety. Last night I noticed, I was kind of going asleep and I noticed, oh look, there's fear. And so, there's just little different bits of waves of things as this pandemic moves along and goes through different phases. And I think we're all in different countries experiencing different things. So it just feels really healthy and really good to be questioning our thoughts and really looking at how they affect how I am, for me, how I am in this current moment. And it's been really powerful to continue this practice. So delighted to be able to share this with you. And also just letting you know that I also work in global health. So this is kind of, my world is coming together. My global health work and then the work with the Work of Byron Katie is all coming together, and it feels really. I feel really grateful to be able to serve. So just to start us off, as always, just inviting everybody just to take a rest, a little pause in the day wherever you are. So if you're comfortable, just closing your eyes and putting the pens and papers and anything else out of your hands, and just allowing yourself to sink into whatever surface is holding you. And just noticing the breath. And taking a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again in through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more. And just noticing even that action of taking mindful breaths, how that frees up some space. Just noticing your mind in this moment. Just noticing the thoughts as they move through your mind. And just notice if your mind feels busy or it's starting to settle. And bringing your awareness back to your breath. So all crisis is an invitation for us to meet ourselves and each other in a much deeper way, to slow down and to remember what's truly important to us, to break our addiction to external distractions and to touch life with more tenderness and curiosity. And that's from Jeff Foster. So welcome everybody.
Thank you. So we're going to begin, as we have begun on the other calls as well, by collecting our thoughts as a community of people who've come together to look at this, our thoughts around this pandemic. We're going to collect our thoughts around the coronavirus using this prompt: the coronavirus is spreading, and that means that. So the invitation is to type your responses into the chat box so that Nadine and I can see and everyone can see. And really inviting the most stressful beliefs. They may be very kind of silver lining beliefs that already are popping up, but just for the purpose of this exercise, the ones that cause pain, the ones that cause stress, the ones which maybe come with images that you've seen on the news or Facebook, or you've heard from people, or you're seeing in your own life. So this virus is spreading, and that means that. If you start typing those in. And if you don't feel comfortable to share, you can also just write these on a piece of paper yourself. But the invitation is for them to go in the chat box. Another few minutes to let your mind rest on those images and the thoughts that come with those images when you think about the coronavirus continuing to spread. And please feel free to continue to type into the chat, and we'll now just come round, and anyone who would like to speak will come to your line, so you can just wave if you would like to speak, and we'll hear you. If you could say your name, where you are in the world, and your up to three most stressful beliefs. Yeah, Josh, let's come to you. I'll bring your line off mute. What have you got? Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Happy to see you.
So mine was that I put that I may get it and that I may suffer. I don't want to suffer physically.
And where are you in the world, Josh?
So I'm at home. I just got a letter from my bank, and the letter in the bank letter says that I just want, it was noted that someone who visited the bank on Sunday tested positive, and we're just indicating, our records indicate that you also visited the bank around that time, so we're just being precautious and sending everyone who was at the bank this letter. And so right away, I'm like freaking out, and I'm like, oh gosh, and then my mind goes to, I may get it, I may have it, and I'm so afraid.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, who would like to go next? Just wave like this, or you can raise your hand if you haven't got your video on. Brendan, did you want to share?
Well, where am I? I'm a GP in County Kildare, and I think in the last 2 weeks this virus is coming. So I've done like such a number of things differently, like everybody else has. I'm a doctor, so the issue of death and dying, any of us who are doing general practice, this is very familiar. So I don't find that part of it profoundly upsetting. There's a kind of a personal loss of balance all over the place in our team, in the practice, among students, among people attending for care. There's a serious loss of balance. Sometimes it goes from A to B in a twinkle. Sometimes you think, actually, it's good. We need a shake-up. We need to improve the health system. There's so much positive change going on as the health system is responding. This is a good thing. And then anger, why did it take this to make that happen? And then when you're feeling positive about it, then you quickly feel guilty about that. This is terrible.
What's the most stressful? The very most stressful. What's the image that comes to you and that has a very stressful thought attached to it?
Well, I think I've forensically gone around my personal circle and thought, yeah, he could go, she could go, she's a dead ringer, he's a dead ringer for that. And these are people I've always loved, and I really love them now. I found that really upsetting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome those who've joined us recently as well.
Hello.
Hi. So what we've been doing is typing into the chat, which I think you can see even if you've come now, our thoughts about the coronavirus spreading, so images we have and thoughts that hit with that. And then we're just inviting people to come off mute and share those thoughts that they've been having. So feel free to wave or raise your hand electronically, and then we'll come to you for your thoughts.
Okay. I can't see the chat from before, but I'll just catch up. Sorry, I couldn't get my laptop working before.
So what are your, if you would like to introduce yourself and where you are, and then up to 3 of your most stressful thoughts about what's happening at the moment in the world.
So my name's Roisin, and I'm just here in Donabate in Dublin. And so I suppose like about the the healthcare system, how, you know, there was so many strikes anyway, and like I wasn't, I suppose, just, you know, not very hopeful that it would be able to cope, and that our government weren't doing enough. And just my boyfriend's mother has an autoimmune disease, so I just didn't want her to get it or anything. So they were kind of the thoughts that I was having.
Thank you so much for sharing. Very welcome. Jackie, you had your hand up.
For me, this whole thing has felt very unreal, and the idea of it spreading makes it feel real. So I currently don't know anybody who's ill. I know everybody's doing what they need to do. They're all indoors, and I think I've avoided watching any disaster stories on the news, so I feel quite spared some of the dramatic details. But when I have a thought like the coronavirus is spreading, it feels like I'm being forced to step up to that reality that actually that's not going to continue, and people I know are going to start getting ill, and I can't avoid some of the scenes on the news much longer. And the overwhelming feeling I have is it's going to last longer. So this idea that it's spreading me, it's a bit like I have an image of ivy going up a tree and just finding its way into all the other spaces. And I currently have 2 parents with dementia who are isolated and climbing the walls already after 3 days. And if it's spreading and it's going to take longer to resolve in any which way, that's creating issues for them and for me, because I'm their carer, albeit at a distance now. So the immediacy of it, its impact on me and its impact on them.
Thank you. And where in the world are you, Jackie? I'm
in Coventry in the UK.
Thank you. And then we'll come to Annie and then to Tina. Thank you for raising your hand, Tina. Annie?
Hi, I'm from the United States in the state of Maine, and I have a daughter who's pregnant and due at the end of May, and she just found out that her husband may not be able to be with her during the birth. So I'm afraid she won't have the help she needs. I'm angry at our government. Our government is failing us is the thought that I have. And I just took a long walk, and there was a man in a truck with a Trump sticker on it. And my immediate thought was, you fucker. So, yeah, I'm just angry.
And can you identify why he's a fucker? What's the thought about him? How it relates to coronavirus?
He got Trump elected. He's responsible.
Thank you. And Tina, do you want to bring your line off with mute?
Sorry about that.
No, we can hear and see you. That's perfect.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of things. One is I have not been very considerate to myself. I feel like I have a story that I'm responsible for a lot of people as a leader, and I can't be afraid. So I didn't acknowledge any fear. I didn't even pay attention to my body and what its reaction is. But every night I'm up for an hour or two because there's a terror running through me. My daughter had it, and one of my agents has it, and now one of my staff members have it. And what if it goes to their lungs? What if my grandchildren get it? What if blah, blah, blah? And my boss, who, you know, I depend on, has compromised lungs. So I'm terrified about that. I lost a great deal of money in the stock market and I got out. So it is a loss. And, you know, what will happen to me financially? So I have these things that during the day don't even show up. And at night they go, hello. So I need to start being more considerate of myself and acknowledging these fears so I can question them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else who would like to share? Yeah, Bill, if we come to you, you want to bring your line off mute?
You're still muted, Bill.
Okay, so yeah, with what Tina just said, really struck a chord with me. It's like during the day, I'm full of curiosity and excitement, and at 4 a.m. I'm like, holy shit, how is this going to impact me? And yeah, so the thoughts that, you know, so coronavirus is spreading, and that means, I wrote Americans are delusional idiots, and I think selfish is a very important part of that. Just a lot of people I know, my neighbors and stuff, are just like, blah, 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 whatever. You know, this is a hoax, Democratic scam. But the fears that come up at night are about the future and my security and job and being able to earn a living. And they've been quite vivid.
Thank you. And what part of the world are you in, Bill?
I'm in lockdown in the United States, Colorado.
Then it strikes me, it's like the lockdown. It's like, are you in lockdown here? and I'm locked in the location that we're in.
Yeah, to some degree yes, and some degree no. It's rather fascinating and curious, but I'm starting to get in touch with some of the lockdown. Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to have their voice heard? Okay, Nadine, would you like to introduce the work and what the process is that we'll be using?
Yeah, okay. Great. So for people who are new-ish to the work, let me just find it. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I know many people, you hear, a lot of you know it, and some of you is kind of, you're getting used to it. So just to be clear, what we're doing here is we've just identified a number of thoughts and fears. And what we're going to do now is just work a few of those thoughts as a group. And that means individually, we're going to be inquiring ourselves and also sharing out if we feel moved to. And we're going to be using the 4 questions of the work to do that. So when we look at a particular statement, we'll ask these questions. So these 4 questions are: is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? The third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe the thought? And then the 4th question is, who or what would you be without the thought? And the last part of the work is, it's called the turning it around. So it's where we turn thoughts around in different directions just to see if there's anything that we might not have been able to see before. So it's quite a simple process, nothing to try and understand or remember. Just wanted everybody to know what it is that we're doing here.
Thank you. So of all the thoughts, and on the other 2 calls last week, we caught different thoughts, and those recordings will be available. So we've worked a few thoughts, and we'll have a new one now, and then we'll have another one. The one that I'm drawn to is there will not be enough. And go wherever you want with this. It could be there will not be enough food. There will not be enough medical care. There will not be enough medicine. There will not be enough, like Annie with your daughter, like people there with her. There will not be enough money. There will not be enough provision of some kind in some way. Just raise your hand when you can find that thought for yourself. There will not be enough of something. So hold whatever your situation is that you've brought to mind. Could well be a very clear image that is kind of velcroed to this thought. There will not be enough. And when I ask these first 2 questions, the answer is either yes or no. That's the invitation, just to find a yes or no and to wait until one is shown to you. We're not trying to get a certain answer. There is no right answer. It's just your answer. So there will not be enough. Is that true? You may need to bring your line off mute if you are muted. Feel free to speak it out loud.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
No. And we'll continue to test the truth of this thought. There will not be enough. Can you absolutely know this is true? There will not be enough.
Yes.
No.
No.
No. No.
No.
No.
No.
And notice what happens. How do you react when you believe this thought, there will not be enough?
Pressure.
I contract. I tighten.
I panic.
Bit of sadness and anxiety.
I play the most disastrous, worst case movies in my mind.
I feel I've got to do everything.
I see her alone and scared.
I blame myself.
I'm annoyed and upset.
I'm angry at those who I believe have caused this.
Social unrest.
Yeah, I feel a lot of fear.
I feel helpless.
Powerless.
My breathing gets much more shallow.
Tightness in my forehead.
I'm restless.
I'm scared.
I spend more time on Facebook and on the news than I would like.
I disappear into one of those fantasies of how everything works out really, really, really negatively. I think that's back on the Hollywood movie of disaster. It's all going really bad and it's really intense. But then you snap out of it, but then it happens again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I notice I'm being really careful and much more careful with food at the moment. And I'm thinking everything I use, food and other things, I'm thinking, I wonder, will that be available? I wonder, should I save that? So I start to live in a kind of a scarcity, and it's a fearful one.
We made an inventory of our deep freeze last night, just what was in it, for exactly the same reason. We wrote it all down. It felt good though. It felt, wow, what an amazing amount of stuff we've got in the deep freeze from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I experience this time now as wartime like. Rationing.
I think particularly it's like the phony war in 1939. It really hasn't started yet, but it's wartime. But it really hasn't started yet.
I'm untrusting. I look at others with suspicion.
I blame the medical system.
I get so angry at the people who are buying more than they need in supermarkets.
I'm annoyed at when you see people going out when you're making an effort not to. And yeah, you wonder, why am I even bothering?
I become very vigilant. I'm tracking each update, looking for security in what I read or hear. I wake up and there's a sinking feeling as soon as I wake up when I remember what's happening.
I go out of my way to avoid hearing anything about it.
I surprise myself when things that were so easily available before simply aren't available now. And I find I'm still expecting them to be there. I'm disappointed when they're not.
I see an image. I saw an image the other day, a photograph of empty shelves, and I play that image in my mind of empty shelves in the supermarket. That's the image I go to.
The image I go to is on Facebook as they're explaining the maternity hospital rules. and I play today's update against last week's, and I see that it's getting more and more and more and more restricted in who can go where and what provision there is. So I use that as my evidence that there won't be enough care.
I go into a past image of the hospital not doing a good job the last time. They're going to screw it up this time.
I play conversations with the care agency that says, I'm really sorry, there just aren't any carers left. I don't know where to go from there, it just feels desperate.
I think the key phrase, there won't be enough, for me, it is, as a medic, there won't be enough intensive care unit beds. That's the key bottleneck. And I think it's helpful to understand it will only affect quite a small percentage of the population, maybe 3 or 5% of the population. For the other 95% of the population, you know, we'll either get it or we won't get it. If we get it, most will manage reasonably well.
And I invite you with this to really notice the impact when you believe it. So when you believe there won't be enough, let's say, intensive care beds, what's the impact? How does that hit your being?
It brings you right to the decision of who gets an ICU bed and who doesn't get an ICU bed, and how that will play out in our communities and in our society and the decision making around it. A very small percentage of people. It doesn't play out like that in the media. It plays out like a much bigger issue. It's really hard to keep perspective on it. It's really hard to keep objectivity about it, and why should you be objective about it?
Yeah, as we stay watching the impact on us, it's like the camera is fully on us. So here's me, my body, my emotions. What do you notice for everyone? What do you notice about how you treat yourself when you believe there won't be enough?
I become blind to the present and get abstracted in the Hollywood movie and miss out on things and get exhausted and really wish I could switch off the Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
I leave myself and go try to fix someone else.
I started thinking about what is necessary for myself rather than going like I used to constantly.
I lose all sense of abundance and the freedom that comes from that.
Yeah, what do you miss? What are you unable to see or do when you're believing there won't be enough?
I'm in God's business. I'm unable to see how things can open up. So yeah, I'm very closed.
I'm not present to appreciate what I have.
I disconnect from the world in front of me, from my wife there in the room, and I'm in the virtual world. So I miss the real world in the present moment.
Yeah, and I fail to notice that in this moment there is enough.
Mm-hmm. And I lose all sense of value on everything that's there.
Right.
anything that I can do or anything that I have vanishes for as long as you give in to the you.
So now notice, who would you be in this moment without the thought playing, without attaching to that thought? There won't be enough.
I'd be more in the present moment instead of being caught up with like statistics and like just thinking about facts and figures and it being in God's business rather than, you know, in the present moment and trying to just enjoy every day that I have. And
I'd be breathing more deeply. I'd have a sense of trust. I'd be aware of needing a lot less than I think I need.
Noticing and having much more faith in other people taking what they need instead of too much, and there is in fact enough to go around.
I'd have more available to give others. So I would be back in that how can I help mode, less self-centered.
Yeah, grateful for this amazing opportunity of time and space to do the things that are important to me.
Yeah, I'd be more curious to see how it will all unfold, and I would be more trusting like I was when I had my children.
I notice that I give myself permission to be joyful, and then I get in touch with that, and it's it's infinite. Without the thought, there's no guilt.
How would you treat yourself without the thought there will not be enough?
Resourceful. I would see the resourcefulness that I have.
It's more robust.
Really. Get more in touch with what I actually do need instead of what I think I need.
Yeah.
I'd be gentle with myself, just pulling myself off Facebook, away from the scrolling.
I'd be calmer, more available to others to help when called upon.
I think I'd probably be less angry about some things and some people, without a thought.
I'd be grateful for what the medical profession is doing right now, or the medical people are doing right now. And I would feel more supportive and looking for ways to help.
And being grateful and trying to use this time, and while my work is closed, so for ages I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? But maybe it's good to be like grateful for the time to be able to reflect and yeah, just as well being there for others who, you know, if you're freaking out and angry, you can't help someone else. But if without that thought, you're more calm, and yeah, I'm more calm and able to listen to others. Like my sister, for example, who is very upset about everything, and yeah, just able to be present with her as well.
So let's explore any truth in the turnaround to the opposite. There will be enough, and really go to your specific situation and find a specific example, specific evidence that there will be enough.
There are a lot of people out of work right now who might make excellent carers who haven't been carers before. For my parents.
Currently, they're saying that my wife can be there for labour and birth itself. And even if she can't be, then there'll be a midwife. And there'll be me and my baby. So there'll be enough of us to get him out.
Hard to judge what enough is. And maybe we need to practice on existing loving on far less, and that actually would feel like plenty. Just because we've never tried it before doesn't mean it's not going to be enough.
Shops are open, and you know, on the news and everything says they will remain open. So there isn't really a worry that there wouldn't be enough things, and there are so many people who are working really hard, nurses and doctors. So there are a lot of people, and don't know if it will be enough or yeah, what enough it is, but there are a lot of people.
In the UK,
yeah.
In the UK, they asked everybody this morning if they could volunteer to support to help the National Health Service with driving and making phone calls, and they wanted 250,000 people, and they received enough people volunteering in half an hour.
Yay!
They got more than they needed, more than enough.
Come back to Europe.
Yeah.
I love these specific examples. It's like with the thought, it's so weighed towards evidence that there will not be enough, and it's like we're just like that. It's like, oh, here's some evidence that there will be enough. Really specific, real, not made up, just real.
I can't come around to saying that there will be enough ICU beds, because I seriously believe, medics generally believe, that there may not be enough ICU beds, but I can come as far as there might be enough ICU beds, and there might be enough ICU beds if we all do the right thing in terms of social distancing and flatten the curve. I think that's sound thinking, and I think 6 weeks ago, I think the consensus was that there were 200 intensive care unit beds in Ireland. And now it's kind of up to 550 because of what they're after being able to do. And there is evidence that, the people who are not social distancing stick out like sore thumbs, but an awful lot of people are actually getting into it and getting about it. So there mightn't be enough, but we'll give it a really good run. And I think that's a helpful way to go about it. And then finally, whatever will be, will be. And you know, and societies, we've been through these things before. Far more people will have died from TB than will ever die from this, almost certainly. The Spanish influenza was a lot worse than this. There's no doubt about that. You know, so, you know, most of us will get through it, and you know, there'll be enough, because there'll have to be enough.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about just like simply food. You know, there will be enough. You know, I've been working in countries, you know, like Zimbabwe and other countries who have been for years managing on less, and then the next time I'm there, even less again, and even less again, where my mind is going, how is that possible? You know. So there will be enough. And then I look at my own house. I mean, I have one bag of rice here that's like a 20-kilo bag of rice that would keep us fed for months if we wanted. So good to notice there is enough. It's just not enough of what I think we need, like what Jackie said.
Yeah, there will be enough. I've heard of specific friends of mine who are midwives and doctors who have gone back into the healthcare system. They had left, so they're going back in. So there will be enough healthcare professionals coming back in from retirement or other employment, or students acting up. So there will be enough.
And can I say, lots of people deliver fantastic healthcare that are not part of the system. They just step up and they do it when they have to, and they're brilliant. And there's just got to be more of that.
There will be enough great examples. And in the interest of time, there are some other turnarounds we could do there, and I am inclined to move to our next concept, Nadine. So thank you everyone for that, and feel free in the chat if you want to add anything else you see for that.
Thanks, Corrina. Yeah, thanks everybody. I notice my internet connection is struggling a little bit, maybe because there are so many people on. So thanks for patience with it. I noticed the thought that I move towards is the future is uncertain. And what I invite everybody to do is, as you all shared, each of you shared different things about your, I would go, found myself last night, the evening time when fear is having a life. Fear is starting to live. And what is it like? So the future is uncertain. Go to your own situation. Is it around money? Is it around income? Is it around the job that you have been doing and maybe now are thinking, I won't be able to do that anymore? Is it around your loved ones, people that we might lose? Is it around the economy? So everybody just find a specific moment or specific situation where you have the thought that's very live for you. The future is uncertain. And when you found your own definition of the future is uncertain, your own situation, just raise your hand. So I know that everybody has something. And if anybody's struggling, okay, everyone's got something. Okay, good. So holding that in your mind, just hold your own situation, your own context in mind. The future is uncertain. So is that true?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So just notice, can you absolutely know? So here we are right now in this moment, can you absolutely know for sure that the future is uncertain?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
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 So notice, how do you react? What happens when you're believing that thought, that the future is uncertain? And even just take a moment before even speaking. It's like, just take a moment to allow that to drop. How do you react? What happens when you're ready? Just share whatever comes.
I'm anxious.
Unsettled.
Out of control.
It's like a niggle constantly there.
The future is uncertain, and in the better moments, that generates an intense curiosity.
And in the moments that are stressful, just in those moments that are most stressful, just notice the effect on you. The future is uncertain.
I long for the past, when things felt more certain.
And Josh and everybody, welcome. Just to unmute yourself, and we'll just do this as a group, so like a popcorn, so you can just even please.
I know for me,
yeah.
For me, it's like, it's all, when I sit here, I think the future's uncertain. It's all future.
Right.
All future. And that's where fear resides. It's all future. So that's helpful, you know, is when I sit here right now, I feel in the present moment, I feel I'm okay, you know, or I know I'm okay. It's always future.
Right. And so for that thought to have a life, what images are you showing yourself? And this is for everybody. What images are you seeing of the future for that thought to be alive?
Like unrecognizable supermarkets and town centres and schools and hospitals. Like nothing like the past.
Nothing solid to rely on anymore, as if the ground underneath me is not safe.
Images of scarcity.
Images of isolation.
Yeah, I see people like in that film 2012, you know, so grey landscape and everything kind of falling apart, and people with clothes that are tattered and nothing organized, you know.
Can't rely on anything anymore.
I kind of think about how, you know, unsustainable our food systems are, and, you know, all kind of trade and how things are produced, and just that can't go on forever. So when will we see change, and what will that be?
Yeah. And then just notice on everybody, what happens in your body when you're really allowing yourself to believe that thought, the future is uncertain. Notice your body.
I have knives in my stomach.
Yeah.
Very fearful.
So just allowing fear in this moment to have its life in your body. So see if you can actually identify for yourself, where is it that what does fear taste like, feel like?
I feel a lump in my throat and I'm like sweating.
It's bitter.
Yeah. It's like a heaviness here for me in my chest.
There's a feeling of the body flailing, not being able to hang on to anything that's solid.
Right. And then just notice, how do you treat people? How do you treat the government? How do you treat people around you when you're believing the thought the future is uncertain? Leaders, other people.
I blame them.
Yeah.
I'm angry. I think it's their fault.
It could have all been so good if it weren't for them.
You get very dismissive of anybody who doesn't believe exactly the same thing. You're not with the plot. You just don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm untrusting of everyone around me.
Crossed with the universe that it's all worked out like this when it was all doing really well before.
Yeah, I make the past so rosy, like it was all perfect.
I'm afraid I'll never have sex again.
Yeah, I mean, just look at those fears, Josh. I think that's a really, you know, I fear that I won't kiss the people I want to kiss. I fear I won't see my children grow up. What are the fears when you're believing that thought? Let's be specific, because these are the things that are living in the nights.
Yeah, my family will all be traumatized.
I have such an argument with life.
Parents will be taken into care and I won't be able to control where they go or how they live.
Yeah, I won't be able to say goodbye to my parents as they pass on. I won't be able to be with them in the way that I've always imagined it would be, and that makes me feel really sad. The future is uncertain.
There'll be such a fallout that the future could just get worse, because when the pieces get picked up, the original pieces won't be in the right order, in the right place, and it could just be chaos.
I get nostalgic and I miss all the things that didn't work or I didn't enjoy about life before this.
I become afraid also that like the lessons that I feel like the universe is giving us, that people won't take them serious, and then the future will just go right back into the way it was before.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just notice, whose business are you in when you're believing that thought? The future is uncertain.
God's business.
Yeah, it's like in those moments, it's like I am God. When I'm believing that thought, it's like I am God. I am the one that controls in my thinking the future.
Yeah. And like the answers are so simple if everyone would just get on board. They're not simple.
I really want to teach life like I know best. This is the future that should have been.
So just really gently, as if it's been a hat that we've been wearing. It's like just for a second, taking that hat off, just really gently and putting it down. It's like in this moment, and even in those moments of fear, who would you be without the thought, the future? Really test this out, really go into it. Who are you?
Excited.
Sorry. I'll be calmer and actually able to think rationally and think about what I actually am in control of, which is just myself and the present.
Very open to whatever reveals itself.
I would feel I'm probably better having the thought, because I think the thought is correct. The future is uncertain.
And so even noticing that could be that it's better with the thought. Just notice for a second. It's like, can you step in and just be without the thought just for a second? If you really couldn't believe it, that the future was uncertain.
I wouldn't then be in any future at all. I would just be right here.
I noticed. Yeah, go ahead, Ula.
I would enjoy the moment, and I would notice the things around me, the good things that I have still.
Yeah, I'd be grateful for this moment.
Everything would feel so precious right here and now.
It seems to me it's curious the way the thought can affect you in quite two different ways. I'm uncertain about the future. I can't value the things I have, or I'm uncertain about the future. That causes me to value the things I have now more. That you can react in two quite different ways when you're entertaining the thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, I notice, like, without the thought, if I'm thinking about, you know, work or what I thought the future was going to be, or how, you know, how money was going to come, it's just a not knowing, and a genuine curiosity, and, you know, almost excitement about the space that's there that was not there before, you know.
See an image of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, and it being hugely uncertain and amazingly wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I notice gratitude for the past, like more willingness to just play really happy memories from the past, as if they had more value.
Yeah.
And then just notice, how do you treat those people, you know, people, the government, leaders, whoever they were that you were looking at? How do you treat them without the thought the future is uncertain?
We can feel
see how connected to everyone. We're all equal in this moment.
Compassion that they're doing jobs that I have not volunteered to do.
They're a mirror of me.
I think because a lot of the people actually are having the thought that the future is uncertain. I think most people, and particularly the people, and I sense it's the people that I'm immediately connected with, are surprising on the upside. People that the thought is bringing out the best in people in an awful lot of instances and interactions.
Yeah. So just moving to turning it around. So the future is uncertain. So let's just try the future is certain. It's like, let's actually try that, you know. So what about the future, your future? You know, what are some small examples of the future is certain?
I will still have my name that I can be certain of.
I am here and I have myself.
A big part of the future is inevitably every single one of us will be gone at some stage.
Right.
It's just really a better thing to use the time as generously and as effectively and creatively and positively as we can. That's just a better future for however long it is.
Yeah, and I love that. It's like that's certain. Death feels certain, and we could question that, but in this moment, it kind of works, you know. Anything else? Any other examples? The future is certain.
Even if the people I love have died, I will still love them.
And continuing on that same thought, that they will die, and therefore the focus really has to be on really just enjoying the time and being as good as we can with each other.
Yeah, and instead of trauma being the ruin of us all, it will strengthen many of us.
Yeah. And you know, go to that situation that you found at the beginning of this inquiry, and just see if you can see any examples. however small.
Well, I know that my baby will, if I'm still alive in a few weeks, he will have to come out somehow.
Right.
He's not going to stay until June, that's for sure. The future is certain, things will change, no day will be the same.
Yeah, no moment will be the same, that's certain. Yeah, I noticed like the future is like I can't know. That's certain. I can't know.
My parents will still have dementia.
Could be.
Which is kind of
Same.
cool because they don't really know what's going on.
Exactly. There's a, yeah.
Yeah, spared.
Mm.
So my thinking about the future is uncertain. So just noticing how that lands, that my thinking about the future is uncertain.
It's certainly uncertain when I fantasize into fear.
So many of my thoughts haven't been validated by any evidence. They're just made up stuff, images I've just made up because I've read something or heard something. It's not certain.
If I'm conscious of it and if I'm deliberate about it, because the future, my thinking is going to get shaken up. And if I go about it the right way, my thinking will get better because it will be informed by my interaction with people around me, how they're getting on. And, you know, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, the number of things that have changed, and quite a lot of them have been actually really positive changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so if my thinking has been shaken up, that, you know, it can be shaken up in a really positive way.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I noticed like my thinking is uncertain, and you know, that makes me open. It's like I feel open now.
Yeah.
Good to know my thinking is uncertain about the future. Mm-hmm.
I can't know this, but it feels certain that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Because it just always seems to do that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the world.
Yeah, like the future is certain. Just seeing how people are responding, how people are responding all over the world. It's you know, it feels certain that people are finding good ways to respond. Small, big ways. Clapping at 9 o'clock every night for healthcare workers. You know, whatever they do.
250,000 UK citizens volunteering to work for free in the NHS in a half an hour.
Right.
That's just like epic.
Right. And then try this one. You know, it's like, you know, we started off in a kind of in a stressful, like the future is uncertain, but now try, it's like the future is uncertain. It's like just embracing that, like, you know, so the future is uncertain. It's like, oh, thank God, you know, thank God. I you know, I don't want to live in a life where I know everything that's going to happen. Good.
Yeah, it always has been.
Yes.
It's always been a reality.
Josh,
Unpredictability is exciting.
The future is uncertain. How silly we were to forget that. We are being tapped on the shoulder here.
And that brings me to an element of just trusting, you know, just the idea of like how, you know, we trust the moon, the stars, the planets are aligned. We trust that, you know, the sun comes out every day. We trust that. So that same intelligence that we trust, why can't we trust that what's happening right now is the same intelligence that is in every organism that, you know, that does its job naturally, you know?
Yeah, and how exciting. It's like if we lean into that turnaround, the future is uncertain. It's like I can just trust that. And then I'm excited, right?
Right.
Bring it on.
Yeah,
And then,
take my hands off the wheel, hands off the steering wheel. Not my hands.
I have a turnaround that someone gave me recently. So what? The future is uncertain. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I notice in this moment, Tina, I love that. It's like the future is certain. Like just feel the pull of that, feel how that affects you. You know, the future is certain, and then feel the future is uncertain. Which one is feeling heavier?
Right.
Right. So what? Yeah. And so, you know, just looking at, you know, in a way, kind of expanding the so what, and expanding, Josh, what you were saying about trust in the universe. If this is a friendly universe, how could this coronavirus and everything that we are experiencing be a good thing? First for yourself, then for people around you, loved ones, you can even be specific, and then for the universe. Josh.
Being like, so for me, I feel like everyone has their specific lessons in this. So for me, like loneliness, right? So like prior to coronavirus, loneliness was a thing for me that I had to work on, right? So like here I am quarantined. I have to face my loneliness. People with financial concerns, it brings up. So I almost feel like a specific person has their own journey and lessons with this whole idea of what's going on. And I also feel like and I don't want to take up too much of other people's ideas, but I'm also thinking of global warming, like how the whole world can like just breathe for like.
Absolutely, how we were looking at these targets for the Sustainable Development Goals on climate change in 2030 with no possibility. You know, people couldn't see how we were going to get there, and suddenly it's like, whoa. So how is it a good thing for the universe? You know, I think of Greta Thunberg, and I think, my God, if she was introducing a virus in the world, you know. Anybody else? And I love, Josh, that you started, you know, really like close up with yourself. You know, how is it a good thing for you in your life right now?
I've noticed prioritizing what's important for me. I've always said, oh, I'm going to practice self-care. And now I'm really doing it.
Yes.
And noticing what is important and what's trivial that I thought was important.
I notice where I still have a attachment, clingy, glommy attachment to certain people, like my daughter and my grandson. Like if something happened to them, my life is over. And now I get to notice, oh, is that true? Are they my source? And if that's what it takes, then I've said unconditional willingness. So just noticing where I still believe other people are the source of my well-being.
Yeah, beautiful, Tina. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? How is it a good thing? If it's a friendly universe, why is this a good thing for you or others? Yeah, open.
It's teaching us a lot, actually. I realize we are all equal. This danger for all of us includes everybody. And if we're careful, if we do what we've been told, then it will be useful, and it will be done our responsibility for ourselves, for others as well.
Yeah, thank you, Reframing. Yeah, I notice it's like, how is it a good thing? I notice that, you know, even the word restricted movement, you know, I kind of heard it yesterday. I heard our leader here saying, okay, there's going to be increased restricted movement. And my mind went to restricted movement. And I notice, you know, how is it a good thing? It's, I feel so free, so much more free than you know, than I felt in a long time, with my children, with my family, connecting with people. It feels like that's a good thing.
Everything feels like a bonus. I feel like nothing's taken in my life, like nothing taken for granted. Everything feels like a bonus.
I woke up this morning and I walked into my garden and I thought, oh, my house has been moved to the countryside. Because there's no traffic noise, there was bird song, And I thought I had an instant memory of being in rural France, where there's just none of the usual thing you'd expect in a city where I live. And I felt enormous joy, and I wished it was going to stay like that. And that was really interesting. Like, don't bring all the cars back, don't bring all the people back in the way that we lived before. And there was almost like, I want to hang on to this time rather than I want it to finish.
Right.
And also the quarantine of the 4 people in my home, there's a feeling that we're going to have to sort out some of the things that we don't have to sort out when we always move around and go away from each other. So the hot housing is going to produce some interesting relationship changes and or understandings, hopefully. And I'm just extremely grateful that we're all still getting on day 3.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then, just notice those people in your life, moving from yourself, how is it a good thing for them? And be specific, your mom, your dad, your sisters, your children. How is it a good thing for them? See if you can find an example.
My son is excited that he doesn't have to go to school.
Yeah, my son has just created this huge wall of, he's painted planets and stars on this massive wall in his bedroom. It's the whole thing from start to finish.
My son, my unborn son, homeschooling might be more normal by the time it comes to schooling for him, and that's something I was already considering for him.
Mm-hmm. And Annie, how about you with your daughter? How could this be a good thing for her about to give birth?
Yeah, I was just thinking how it'll be an opportunity for her to see who does show up and how resourceful she is. And who knows what midwife or healthcare worker will be by her side that will be like the perfect one. So I just feel like letting go of needing to control it is such a good thing for me, for her.
Right.
Yeah, it's where we get caught up, this need to control.
Yeah. Thanks, Annie. And how about you, Bill? How is it a good thing? You were talking about finances and security, and how is this a good thing?
I kind of spoke to that. It's just such an opportunity to focus on the things that are important. It's a good opportunity to address some fears that are coming up now.
Yeah, I love that. And I really resonated with what you said. It's kind of like the nighttime fears. It's like, I was thinking today, how, am I living in fear? How much am I living in fear? And the first thing I need to do is get in touch with what fear can feel like. And now I have time and space to do that,
Yeah, no, it's just an incredible opportunity. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you guys. Corrina.
Yeah, so we have just a few minutes until we close together. So just a little popcorn of one word to express what you're taking from our time together today.
Community.
Connection.
Insight.
Togetherness.
Stillness.
Present moment.
Possibility.
Clarity.
Trust.
Gratitude.
Sameness.
Say again, Ren.
Sameness.
And feel free again in the chat, if you didn't get a chance to share your word or you want to say anything else in the chat, please do that. I'm going to share a quote from Katie. This is from Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is, 4 Questions That Can Change Your Life. And she says, peace doesn't require 2 people. It requires only one. It has to be you. The problem begins and ends there. Nadine, would you like to share the...
Yeah, I will, and also just move to share that in the last 2 sessions we offered, we worked some different thoughts that some of you might want to work. They came up tonight, and you're welcome to access those recordings. They're available on YouTube. We'll direct you to them. And one of the thoughts was that health systems can't cope, and another one was that people are not taking it seriously. We did this work on that thought. And another one was that my loved ones will suffer and die. So very welcome to go through this, to take this again and with those thoughts if you feel moved. And there is a one belief at a time sheet, which many of you will be familiar with, where you can take some of the thoughts that you'd like to work yourself, take them to this sheet. I've just put it into the chat box for you. So you're welcome to do that. And I've been shared with people last week. I saw a wonderful thing from Elizabeth Gilbert, who I find who inspires me a lot, and it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just to help us kind of focus on the present moment. It certainly helped me. So in this moment, 5 things that you can see. So even just, you can mute yourself, but just say what those things are out loud to yourself. 5 things.
All the lines are on mute apart from ours, so everyone can speak freely.
Yeah, so 5 things you can see in this moment. Just look around your room. 5 things you can see. Good. 4 things that you can hear. I notice silence is one of those things at the moment. How beautiful. 3 things that you can feel. Go to your body. 3 things that you can feel, your emotions or your body. 2 things that you can smell. And 1 thing that you can taste. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's like present.
Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us. Do stay connected to either or both Nadine and me, so that we can let you know about other events like this, either on Facebook. We've both got websites with email lists as well. So I'm at CorrinaGordonBarnes.com. I'll actually put that in the chat box here. If Nadine, if you want to put your website there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay connected. And you're really beautiful to spend this time with you. Thank you. I'll bring all the lines off mute so we can say goodbye. Anything else, Nadine, before I do that?
No, just thank you, everybody, for being here.
Okay. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Bye.